While Harry went solo, Meghan went missing. Where was she when Harry cut a lonely figure at his father's coronation? Where was she when Harry endured a 2-day court ordeal in London as he launched his evidence-free legal action claiming that newspaper journalists used illegal methods to obtain stories about him? As one half of the highest-profile couple on earth, Ms. Markle has been keeping a remarkably low profile. But all of a sudden, the disappearing Duchess is back in the headlines as the world comes to terms with the daunting prospect of having to struggle by without her strangely named podcast, Archetypes. Yes, bored bosses at streaming giant Spotify have decided that everyone has had quite enough of Meghan's mission to, and I quote, dissect, explore and subvert the labels that try to hold women back. Eh? After just one stupefying series, they've axed it. Worse still, the company has let it be known that it has no intention of handing Meghan the full $20 million fee she and Harry were hoping for because they were simply not productive enough. Spotify executive Bill Simmons dismissed Meg's minimal output of 12 podcasts in 2 years as lazy. And even more damningly, he said that they should have made a Palace podcast called The Bleeping Grifters. Didn't actually say bleeping, used another word. In other words, No Nonsense Bill believes that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are work-shy con artists. Harsh, perhaps, but this certainly seems like the moment when their dreadfully dreary fairy tale castle of dreams came crashing down and collided with reality. As Spotify's head of podcast innovation and monetization, Simmons concluded that Meghan's meandering, kooky Californian platitudes were impossible to monetize. Not to put too fine a point on it, Archetypes was disastrously dull. A monumentally boring yawnathon featuring a former cable show actress droning on and on and on at great length about her favourite subject, herself. At first, it was a smash hit, soaring to the top of the podcast charts. But when the novelty wore off, so did the success. And pretty soon, Spotify had a right royal flop on its hands. An astronomically expensive dud produced by a team of 28 highly paid professionals and boasting a dazzling guest list, including the likes of tennis legend Serena Williams and singing superstar Mariah Carey. At the start of the episode called The Misconception of Ambition, Meghan delivered a mind-numbing 11-minute monologue before finally getting round to introducing Serena. In the duality of diva, Meg was horrified when Ms. Carey suggested that she had her diva moments. "Does she not actually see me?" gasped the self-styled, down-to-earth Duchess. Oh yes, Meghan, she sees you. Thrilled to gripping instalments with pseudo-intellectual titles such as The Stigma of the Singleton, Breaking Down the Bimbo, The Decoding of Crazy, The Audacity of the Activist, and my personal favourite, The Demystification of Dragon Lady. And try to stay awake. The only mystery is that anyone ever thought any of this woefully worthy West Coast claptrap would be interesting. Meghan and Harry insist they have parted with Spotify by mutual agreement. But who triggered this mutual agreement? My guess, it wasn't Meghan. Either way, the lucrative deal is dead and now the Sussexes are down to their last contract. Sadly, we're hearing that Netflix are also less than happy with what they're getting for the $100 million they're paying the pricey pair from Montecito. As Bill Simmons pointed out, if they're not talking about the royal family, if they're not pouring a bucket over Charles, William and the rest of the hapless Windsor clan, no one cares what this one-trick double act has to say. In their hour of financial need, already the spin machine is churning out vagaries about Meghan becoming the world's highest paid influencer, earning an eye-watering £200,000 per post plugging products. So was this in her game plan? To end up down deep in the dark commercial bear pit, flogging dresses and makeup like Kim Kardashian? According to some, Meghan will have no choice but to swallow her pride and take the money, with a staggering $7.5 million mortgage to repay, $7 million a year on round-the-clock security, and $5 million on private jet travel and five-star accommodation. Harry and Meghan need mountains of cash to maintain their luxury lifestyle. Perhaps they will be forced to abandon the ludicrous amateur hour notion that their tedious New Age ramblings can keep the loot rolling in, which means King Charles should prepare for more buckets to be poured all over him all the way from sunny Montecito. That is the truth, isn't it, JJ? Because, you know, they have kind of realised that what they've been doing so far, it's not going to keep the money coming in anymore. They've got to change tack. There's talk of her becoming the face of Dior. But it also has been made clear that unless they're talking about the royal family, they might not be able to make much money. So perhaps Charles buckets on his head.
How ironic, first of all, for you to say that Meghan Markle goes on and on and on.
About her favourite subject, herself. Pot, kettle, black and all that, yeah.
I think, normally I always want to defend Harry and Meghan because I think people are too harsh to them. But if the people who have actually worked with them are calling them grifters, that's such a harsh... So essentially, it's a snake oil salesman. Spotify paid for something and they're saying that Meghan and Harry have basically lied to them and given them something else. It's terrible. It's such a bad accusation. I think this is going to really follow them around now for the rest of their careers, whatever that is. But I also heard today that Meghan is now going to sign a $20 million deal with Dior.
Yeah, that's right, as you said, yeah. But I'll believe that, Lacey, when I see it. And the thing about going into the wonderful world of influence is you have to pay the piper. It has to be successful. So they've got about, you know, all these influencers on Love Island. Well, most of them last about 3 seconds because they do a few posts, it doesn't sell any products, and they get fired. So I'm wondering whether Meghan actually will be a successful influencer.
And hopefully not. I mean, I think we're finally seeing...
Hopefully not.
Because I think we're finally now seeing the back of them, and thank goodness. I mean, it's been a long time coming. But as you rightly said, Kev, I think it was lazy effing grifters is what this Spotify...
I said bleeping him.
Oh, sorry, OK.
No, but yeah, effing. Yeah. Grifters.
Let's call them what they are. I think absolutely good riddance to bad rubbish.
I think they're going to be fine. I think she'll do her TIG, that blog.
Yeah, they're talking about bringing back her lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look, I listened to most of those episodes of Archetypes. I found them interesting in parts, but I think... I did.
That's like the curate saying, isn't it?
I did in parts.
The seg's bad, but it's good in parts.
But I think Meghan didn't want to monetize it. She wasn't having sponsorship deals on there. She wasn't selling her soul and being like, oh, by the way, here's some Diet Coke. You guys drink this, blah, blah, blah. If they'd done that, they could have made some cash from it, but they weren't advertising on there. So it's hard to recoup the dough.
Well, I say good luck to them, and I hope the new world of influencing and the TIG and all that lifestyle website, I hope it works out for them. But I just think that they were a bit naive in what they thought would be their future, that they could spend the rest of their lives sort of lecturing us about their new age woke ideas. I mean, the thing about Archetypes, it did have its moments, but, you know, when I tuned in to, what was it called, something about ambition, you know, with Serena Williams.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear Serena Williams.
Yeah.
That's an interesting guest.
Yeah.
11 minutes before Meghan even mentioned she was there.
But people say the same about this show. They tune in to see me. They get you at the top for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Then finally it comes back to me.
Yeah.
You know?
So I should start every monologue with, by the way, at the end of this, JJ will be on. And that'll keep the audience bored. But what do you think the future is? What about for Harry, then? What will he do?
Well, this is what I find so fascinating, is that still, time and time again, we always hear people say that if Harry and Meghan do, hopefully, split, we will welcome him back with open arms because of it. Come on, JJ, open your eyes. We can see what this relationship's not only doing to him, but to pair of them and everything surrounding it. No. Definitely hoping for that. But, you know, we'd still welcome him back with open arms. We would still be thrilled to take him back. And but it doesn't look like that's going to be something on their horizons.
You didn't answer the question. What next for Harry? What's he going to do next?
God, just follow in her footsteps and just be an absolute disaster. But, you know, it's unsurprising that the podcast did initially do well, because the same way we were known
Well, it's bound to. It's a novelty value.
We were nosy about his book as well, at the start. But
well,
then
the book was good.
Yeah, the book
was a good read.
Yeah.
He delivered.
And
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But it was the bucket dump from hell, wasn't it? It really was. And I don't think he's got much left in terms of that armoury. So where does he go?
They've said they're not going to say anything else about the royal family, right? They made that pledge last month. So I believe them. I take
hang on, what's that?
Word.
Oh, it's a pig flying in front of... Yeah, I believe that one,
I believe it.
But, I wish them all the best, but they're going to have to change tack. And by the way, Bill Simmons says he's got a great drinking story of the night he tried to tell Harry about how to make a podcast.
Yeah.
He hasn't given us the details yet, but I want Bill to have another drink and tell us all about it. We're going to move straight on now, and it's time for a bad ad.
Nervous is meeting your boyfriend's family. All 16 of them.
Nervous is why there's new Soft and Dry.
Soft and Dry roll-on. Nothing keeps you drier when you're nervous.
Nervous is taking your driver's test for the 4th time.
Nervous is why there's new Soft and Dry.
Nothing keeps you drier, yet it never stings most girls, even after shaving.
My fellow classmates.
Nervous is why there's new Soft and Dry.
Why is she nervous about seeing her old classmates? What's nerve-wracking about that?
Also, the woman who's having the driving test, the person sat next to her is a police officer. It's a show. He's got the hat on, he's got the badge on. It's not even a driving instructor. It's an actual copper sat next to her.
It's America. They love a uniform, so probably driving instructors have got uniforms.
I love how one of the pros for that advert was that it doesn't even make you sting. I bloody hope
It
not.
doesn't sting most girls.
Oh, most girls.
Yeah.
Still might.
Some girls are in agony.
Yeah, still might.
What's it called? Lust and dry or something?
Soft and dry.
Soft and dry.
Soft and dry.
Soft and dry. I mean, so why would you sweat when you're seeing your family? Why
Meeting your boyfriend's family. All 16 of them.
Why? What's that about? Why are they going on about her boyfriend having 16 relatives?
Maybe they're Mormons.
Mormon. 16 relatives, and 15 of them are his wives. Right, we're going to move on now, and it is time for this. Kevin O'Sullivan is a Lego-haired skid mark of a man. Lego hair. That's it. He laughs at...
You have got Lego hair. It's like someone just put it on.
I have. He laughs at children. Klaus Schwab handed him a script full of talking points, and his job is to repeat them. He destroyed the Daily Mirror. I did my best to destroy the Daily Mirror, but unfortunately I was unsuccessful. And then it says, I mean, he laughs at children. What's wrong with laughing at children? It's not the crime of the century. So a lot of kids are funny, I laugh at them. Shoot me. Lacey, I think you've got some admiring tweets as well.
Only 2 for you today. Absolute drivel. Cannot bear to listen to this posh narcissist bleat on and on. Go and get a proper job. No, it's not as mean as I was really looking for, but there you go.
I've got one here. It says JJ Anasiobi is a who laughs at children. So you do it too. You do it too.
I actually have one about you, Kevin. This one says, that's exactly the kind of response I'd expect from that shipwreck, Kevin O'Shittervan. He works for Bill Gates, right? #WEP Stooge. I wrote that one myself and sent it to your tweets.
Thank you very much, JJ.
It's got 4 likes.
Yeah. That's from my family. And on that bombshell, we're going to break. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
In the hallowed halls of Westminster, do the assembled public school-educated Oxbridge elites even realise the damage done by Partygate to the reputation of the privileged, pampered people who seem to believe they were born to govern? Does Boris Johnson understand that his glittering career was derailed not because he ate a slice of birthday cake, but because he was the boss, while staff ignored the lockdown rules they required the rest of us to unquestioningly obey. I'll admit that at times I've fallen into thinking that this is all a fuss about nothing. I'm still not convinced that Bojo deserves to be cast into humiliating political oblivion for his naive failure to spot that boozy knees-ups at the height of the COVID crisis were a recipe for disaster. But every now and then, you get a reality check that brings matters into sharp focus. Mine was a phone call to my TalkTV show from a heartbroken guy called Tony in Birmingham. He'd seen the video that I had just played of a bunch of young politicos enjoying the time of their lives while millions of Brits faced the grim prospect of lockdown Christmas without their loved ones. Dancing, drinking, feasting on fancy food and giggling about the required secrecy of their illicit gathering. As long as we don't stream that we're like bending the rules, laughs one little creep. Poor Tony wept as he recalled visiting his mum and dad in their care home. They're gone now, no longer with us. But Tony remembered having to kiss his mother Rose through the window, and he sobbed. His fury at the revellers who thought they were above the rules knew no bounds. After Tony, more callers rang in to tell of how they were banned from attending their relatives' funerals, how their businesses went bust, how their lives fell apart as they complied with the draconian regulations that we were assured were crucial in the battle to beat the virus. Crucial, it seems, unless you worked in the wonderful world of Westminster, where they made rules for the masses, but not, apparently, for them. Prime Ministers past and present have been fined for breaking their own COVID laws, but the punishment system has proved to be incredibly selective, with the vast majority of those who attended illegal parties getting off scot-free, including the fun-loving group who let their hair down at a nefarious event to celebrate Tory candidate Sean Bailey's bid to become London Mayor. But why? Since the bash just before Christmas 2020, has Bailey been elevated with a peerage in Boris Johnson's honours list? And why has, drumroll, Lord Bailey's campaign manager, Ben Mallet, seen in the video toasting the covert occasion in his white shirt and VIP red braces, been awarded an OBE? Again, inevitably, in Boris's interminable honours list. So, not only were this preposterous pair of partiers not punished, they were actually rewarded. Isn't that special? So, as the embers die on the bonfire of Boris's Downing Street dream, do not, as I did, make the mistake of thinking that a few drinks behind closed doors in the corridors of power are not worth the furore. If that was true, the video that emerged last weekend would not have caused such widespread anger and dismay. The national hurt, the pain of knowing that the political class took us for fools is still not far from the surface. Many of the seething citizens who suffered so much amid the suffocating restrictions of the pandemic are now the bereaved. They are also the voters who will make the decision at the next general election. Partygate cost Boris his premiership. Now, barring a miracle, this enduring scandal looks set to cost the Conservatives the highest of prices, electoral defeat. Well done, everyone. Let's have a party. Trebles all round. Cheers. I mean, you know, I didn't realise the depth of feeling. I knew that people were angry about this, JJ, but I played this video yesterday, on Sunday on my show, and the switchboard just lit up, and nearly everyone who rang in were people whose relatives had died, who were not allowed to visit their granny or their grandfather in the height of the crisis because, you know, care homes were locked. And they see these people, Boris and all that, having a party, these people having dancing and having a knees up, and it enrages them. They are utterly, viscerally furious.
Yeah, as they should be. I'm one of those people. My mum died during COVID. We weren't allowed to go into hospital and see her. And then at the funeral, they said we could only have 10 people. Between me and my sisters and our kids and partners, that's already at the maximum. So, all because we followed the rules and regulations that Boris had put in place, and yet he wasn't following the rules himself, and neither any of his little cronies and bozos underneath him. It makes me absolutely sick to the back of my teeth. And you're right, a lot of people didn't feel like, oh, it's just a party, it's just a bit of cake. But actually, for many of us, it's much, much, much deeper than that.
Well, I mean, earlier in the week, of course, the MPs debated Boris's fate. Quite why they did this, I don't know why. They spent about 4 hours last Monday debating and then voting on whether or not to take his parliamentary pass away. Yeah. Is that a useful use of taxpayers' money?
Well, I'd suggest not. But I think a key point to make is let's not forget that, Boris, I wouldn't say he's been thrown under the bus per se, but he's definitely, I think, this week been used somewhat as a bit of a scapegoat. Let's not forget Mark Drakeford, Sturgeon, Keir Starmer also. There are other mishaps that happened that did violate the COVID lockdowns. Now,
those people, Keir Starmer didn't set up the rules.
No, of course, and I would not.
He wanted them to be tougher, didn't he? Yeah, he wanted worse restrictions. Yeah.
But we did know that this party did exist for some time. The photos have been released, and I think now obviously you've got the moving images of it. It brings it very much to life.
I think, JJ, that Bojo's crime. I don't think he's a particularly evil guy. I just think he's useless. Yeah. Or as a leader, he's useless. He's not a useless person. He's a clever guy and all that. But as a leader, he knew what was going on and he just sort of shrugged his shoulders. Oh, it doesn't matter. No one will ever find out. And it was for that kind of lapse attention to detail that he lost his career. He lost his premiership. Now look at him.
Absolutely. But even with Pincher, Boris denied knowing anything about Pincher's reputation. Absolutely. And then actually said, oh, actually, I did know. So he just has a history of lying and then not wanting to take responsibility or accountability for his actions.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been humiliated too much. I don't think he needed to stop being an MP. I don't think they need to take his pass away. But when you say about him being thrown under the bus, effectively he threw himself under the bus.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's still polling higher than Rishi Sunak, which in my law defies belief, really.
Not really. I think I could poll higher than Rishi Sunak.
But when you have
3 words: stop, the, and boats.
But when you have people calling into your show, as you highlighted, really pulling the trigger on this man, but he's still doing very well in the public's eyes. It's shocking.
As you say, I underestimated the depth of feeling. Now, this Partygate thing, this is the weeping wound that will bubble up anytime you see anything like that video. Yeah. And it's going to be a nightmare for Sunak all the way to the next election. Yeah. Keir Starmer and the gang, they're going to look at what happened after that story at the weekend. They're going to bring Partygate up every 5 minutes. Yeah. And that is a disaster for Sunak and the Tories. Now it's time for the best of bad TV. Now, we all love the Eurovision Song Contest, don't we? Not me. But here we are, 1977, with a director, a guy called Stuart Morris, who is making his instructions very clear.
Where's the defocus? I don't know what bloody page on. Do it, defocus! Defocus! Go, down. Out!
You need to run the roller.
Run roller! Run the roller! Run the roller! Run the roller! Run the caption roller! Run it! The roller on 6! Roller on 6! Fast! Run it!
No, it's not at the beginning.
Go to the end caption! Go to the end caption! Go to the end caption!
No, do you mean your...
Run it!
He might not pass the HR tests in today's sensitive age.
No, not quite, I don't think. But, I mean, does he think the more he says it and the angrier he gets, the quicker it will...
He got what he wanted,
yeah,
you know.
A minute. He's not the one in the wrong here. He's shouting out the orders and the people who are rubbish in the gallery aren't doing what they're being told.
Yeah. Well, shut up! That's enough! That's the end of the programme! It's the end of the programme! We're going! What just happened?